Every single day, billions of people open their refrigerators, pull out last night's dinner, and heat it up without a second thought. It feels responsible, it feels frugal, it feels healthy, especially when what is in that container is chicken breast, or spinach, or a bowl of rice, or a plate of scrambled eggs. But here's what nobody sat you down and explained. 1 in 6 cancers worldwide is now linked by researchers to dietary factors, including the way food is stored, reheated, and consumed. That number comes from data published in CA, one of the most respected oncology journals written for physicians. And the foods driving a significant portion of that risk are not fast food and not processed junk. They are the exact foods that health-conscious people eat every day and reheat every week. I am a physician, and after more than 15 years working with patients in clinical practice, I can tell you with complete confidence that the 10-minute appointment you get with your doctor has no room for a conversation about the chemistry happening inside your microwave. That is not your doctor's fault. That is just the math of modern medicine. So that is what we are doing here. I am going to walk you through 4 specific foods you almost certainly have in your refrigerator right now, and I am going to show you exactly what happens to them at a molecular level when they are reheated. Not vague warnings, not scare tactics. The actual biochemistry, in plain English, with the studies behind it. There are 4 foods on this list, and I want you to stay with me until the very end, because the 4th one is the one that will genuinely surprise you. It is a food that nutritionists, cardiologists, and physicians recommend routinely. Most people who care deeply about their health eat it several times a week. And the risk that comes with reheating it is almost completely unknown to the general public. Before we get into the list, I want to ask you something directly. Tell me in the comments how old you are and which foods you tend to reheat most often. I read those comments, and the answers genuinely shape what I cover next on this channel. So leave that for me before you scroll away. Now, before I name a single food, I need to give you the chemistry underneath all of this. Please do not skip ahead. This is the framework that will make every food on this list make sense. When food is cooked for the first time, heat triggers predictable chemical reactions. Proteins unfold, starches absorb water and soften, fats emulsify. These are normal, mostly controlled processes. But when that same food is stored in the refrigerator for hours or days, and then reheated, something completely different begins to happen. The first mechanism is oxidation. Fats and proteins that have been sitting exposed to oxygen during storage become chemically unstable. When heat is applied a second time, those already damaged molecules break down further into compounds called lipid peroxides and malondialdehyde. Both of these are well-documented agents capable of damaging DNA. The second mechanism is what happens when the Maillard reaction goes wrong. Normally, the Maillard reaction is what gives browned, roasted food its rich flavor. But when proteins and sugars are exposed to high temperatures repeatedly, they can generate compounds called advanced glycation end products, which you will hear shortened to AGEs. These compounds drive chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation is one of the primary biological forces behind cancer development. The third mechanism is nitrite conversion. Certain foods, especially those naturally high in nitrates, undergo a bacterial transformation while sitting in your refrigerator. When those foods are reheated, the nitrates have already been converting to nitrites, and under heat, those nitrites can react with amino acids to form nitrosamines. The World Health Organization classifies several nitrosamines as probable or confirmed human carcinogens. 3 mechanisms: oxidation, advanced glycation, and nitrosamine formation. Keep those 3 in mind as we go through each food, because you are going to see one or more of them at work in every single example. The first food is cooked rice. Rice is the most widely consumed staple food on the planet. More than 3 billion people depend on it as a primary calorie source, and billions of people reheat leftover rice every single day. The problem with reheated rice, however, has very little to do with the reheating itself. The danger builds during the time the rice spends sitting in your refrigerator between the first cooking and the second. As cooked rice cools, it becomes a near-ideal environment for a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. This is not a rare contaminant. It is naturally present in raw rice. It survives the initial cooking process, and it can multiply quickly in cooked rice that is left at room temperature or stored in the refrigerator for extended periods. When you reheat the rice, the heat may kill the living bacteria, but it does not destroy the heat-resistant toxins those bacteria have already produced. Those toxins survive the microwave. They survive reheating on the stove, and they enter your digestive system intact. But the bacterial risk, while significant, is not the primary cancer concern. I want you to understand, here is what matters most. Bacillus cereus produces a toxin called cereulide, which laboratory studies have shown can damage mitochondria inside human cells. Mitochondrial dysfunction is recognized as one of the earliest biological events that can contribute to malignant cell transformation. That is the process by which a healthy cell gradually becomes cancerous. There is a second concern with reheated rice that receives far less attention. Repeated heating of starchy foods increases the formation of acrylamide, a chemical compound produced when natural sugars react with the amino acid asparagine at high temperatures. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies acrylamide as a group 2A carcinogen, meaning it is probably carcinogenic to humans. What should you do instead? Cook rice fresh whenever possible. If you need to store it, spread it onto a shallow tray immediately after cooking to cool it quickly. Refrigerate it within 1 hour. Eat it within 24 hours. And never reheat rice more than once. The second food is cooked chicken. This one surprises people because chicken is framed almost universally as the gold standard of healthy protein. Physicians recommend it, dietitians recommend it. It fills the meal prep containers of millions of people who are genuinely trying to eat well. And when there is leftover chicken in the refrigerator, nearly everyone reheats it. Here is where the problem begins. When proteins, particularly those found in animal muscle tissue, are exposed to high temperatures a second time, they undergo a process called protein oxidation. One consequence of that process is the formation of compounds called heterocyclic amines. You may see those shortened to HCAs. Heterocyclic amines are not a fringe topic in nutrition science. They are among the most thoroughly studied dietary carcinogens in the published literature. Once HCAs enter the body, liver enzymes metabolize them into highly reactive compounds that can bind directly to DNA. That interaction with DNA can produce genetic mutations. Mutations that affect critical genes, particularly tumor suppressor genes, represent one of the primary mechanisms through which cancer originates. A landmark study published in the journal Carcinogenesis found that people who frequently consumed heavily cooked or reheated poultry showed a statistically significant increase in colorectal cancer risk. A separate analysis from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health found that frequent consumption of reheated processed poultry was associated with a greater risk of pancreatic cancer, one of the most lethal forms of cancer, with a 5-year survival rate of just 11%. If you have leftover chicken, eat it cold. Put it on a salad. Put it in a wrap. If you absolutely must reheat it, use the lowest effective temperature and do not overheat it. The higher the temperature and the longer the exposure, the more HCAs form. Now we are halfway through the list, and every food so far has come back to the same quiet chemistry, heat applied to a vulnerable molecule, and the result is a compound your body was never designed to handle repeatedly. The next two foods are the ones that catch even careful, health-conscious people off guard, and the second of those, the fourth on this list, is the one I promised you at the beginning. Quick pause here. If this is connecting the dots for you in a way that your doctor's appointments never quite did, tap that like button. It genuinely helps this reach more people who need it. And if someone in your family reheats these same foods every week, send them this video right now. The third food is cooked spinach and other leafy greens that are high in natural nitrates. Spinach may be the most universally celebrated vegetable in healthy eating. It is rich in iron, folate, magnesium, and powerful antioxidants. Oncologists, cardiologists, and nutritionists consistently recommend eating more of it, and they are right to do so with one critical condition: when it is eaten fresh or cooked once and consumed immediately. The problem begins the moment cooked spinach goes into the refrigerator. Spinach, along with celery, beets, lettuce, and Swiss chard, is among the richest dietary sources of natural nitrates. In their natural form, those nitrates are genuinely beneficial. They support cardiovascular health and help regulate blood pressure. But once cooked spinach is refrigerated, the bacteria that occur naturally on the surface of the leaves begin converting those nitrates into nitrites. This is the same chemical transformation that happens in cured meats, and it is one of the reasons the World Health Organization classified processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen in 2015. When you reheat spinach that has been sitting in the refrigerator for 24 hours or more, you are applying heat to a vegetable that has already undergone substantial nitrate to nitrite conversion. Under heat, those nitrites can react with amino acids present in the spinach and subsequently in the stomach to produce nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are among the most potent dietary carcinogens identified by modern science. Epidemiological research consistently links high nitrosamine exposure to increased risk of gastric, esophageal, and colorectal cancer. This is not a theoretical concern invented for this video. The European Food Safety Authority has published formal guidelines on dietary exposure to nitrates and nitrites from vegetables, specifically warning about the risks associated with reheating nitrate-rich vegetables after they have been stored following cooking. The irony here is something I find genuinely difficult to sit with as a physician. One of the healthiest foods on the planet can become a source of carcinogenic compounds simply because of the storage and reheating habit that millions of health-conscious people practice every single week. What should you do instead? Cook spinach and other leafy greens fresh and consume them immediately. If you have leftovers, eat them cold within 6 hours. Do not refrigerate cooked spinach with the intention of reheating it later. If storing is absolutely necessary, keep it in an airtight container and eat it cold. Do not reheat it. Now, before I get to the fourth food, I want to take a moment because if you have been watching this channel for any length of time, this is exactly the kind of information I wish I had more time to walk through with every patient I see. Everything we have covered so far, the mechanisms behind rice, chicken, and spinach, these are just 3 pieces of a much larger picture. The question of what your food does to your body goes well beyond reheating. It includes the medications that interact with your diet, the warning signs your body is sending you that often get chalked up to age, and the gap between what your lab results say and what they actually mean for how you feel day to day. That is exactly why we built the Complete Senior Health Vault. It brings together the 3 core guides we have developed for this audience: the medications worth questioning, food is medicine, and the complete manual for your body after 70. Everything I wish I had time to walk through in the office, all in one place, written in plain English. You will find the link in the description, or you can scan the code on your screen right now to access it directly. No prescriptions, no supplements, just the full picture. And speaking of the full picture, I promised you the 4th food would surprise you. This is the one. The 4th food is eggs. I told you this one would be different, and here is why. Eggs are nutritionally extraordinary. They contain all 9 essential amino acids. They are an excellent source of choline, a nutrient that supports brain function. They provide meaningful amounts of selenium, which plays a role in antioxidant defense. And they contain lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 antioxidants that help protect both eye health and cellular health. By virtually every nutritional standard, eggs are considered one of the most complete and healthy foods a person can eat. And yet, reheating eggs, particularly scrambled eggs or hard-boiled eggs that have been chopped or sliced, creates a specific chemical problem that is almost entirely unknown to the general public. Eggs contain approximately 13% fat, and the majority of that fat is concentrated in the yolk. When an egg is cooked for the first time, the fats in the yolk undergo an initial stage of oxidation. This is a normal and expected process. But when a cooked egg is refrigerated and then reheated at high temperature, those already oxidized fats undergo secondary lipid oxidation at a much faster rate. The byproducts generated during this process, particularly malondialdehyde and oxysterols, are now well documented in the scientific literature. Oxysterols, in particular, have drawn significant scientific attention over the past decade. These compounds are oxidized forms of cholesterol that develop specifically when cholesterol-containing foods are repeatedly heated. A comprehensive review published in the journal Food and Chemical Toxicology concluded that oxysterols possess protherogenic, pro-inflammatory, and, most importantly, cytotoxic and genotoxic effects in human cells. Genotoxic. That word carries enormous weight. It means toxic to the genetic material inside your cells. Your DNA, by definition, genotoxic compounds are considered potential carcinogens because they can produce breaks in DNA strands and genetic mutations that initiate the chain of events leading to cancer. There is a second concern with reheated eggs. When the proteins in a cooked egg are exposed to excessive heat a second time, especially during rapid reheating in a microwave, they undergo additional protein denaturation. These proteins form abnormal crosslinks that make them difficult for the digestive system to break down. And some research suggests that the sulfur-containing amino acids naturally present in eggs, cysteine and methionine, can degrade during repeated heating. The degradation products that form from those amino acids may contribute to oxidative stress in the lining of the digestive tract. Persistent oxidative stress in the gastrointestinal mucosa is considered one of the primary proposed mechanisms involved in the development of colorectal cancer, the third most common cancer worldwide, responsible for nearly 1 million deaths every year. What should you do instead? Cook eggs fresh and eat them immediately whenever possible. If you are preparing hard-boiled eggs ahead of time, store them unpeeled and eat them cold. Avoid reheating scrambled eggs or egg-based dishes in the microwave. If you need to warm an egg dish, use gentle, indirect heat, like a low-temperature oven or a warm water bath. And never heat any egg-based dish above 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me tell you about a patient I will call Margaret. She was 71, from Tucson, Arizona. She came to me because she had been feeling consistently fatigued and had noticed some digestive discomfort that she had been attributing to getting older. She was proud of her diet. She ate what she considered very clean, lots of chicken, lots of spinach, eggs most mornings. She batch cooked on Sundays and ate from those containers for the rest of the week. She reheated everything every day because that was the system that fit her life. When we sat down and went through her actual daily habits, I was not looking for the dramatic problems. I was looking for the quiet ones. And this was one of the quietest. She was not doing anything that anyone had ever told her was wrong. She was doing everything she had been told was right. We did not start with a prescription. We changed her reheating habits. We talked through the chemistry in exactly the way I just talked you through it. She started cooking smaller portions fresh, eating her leafy greens the same day, and eating cold protein rather than microwaving it a second time. Within 3 months, her reported digestive discomfort had reduced noticeably, and her energy had improved to a point where she described it as feeling like herself again. She told me, at her follow-up, that she had gone back to cooking properly for herself, and that it had reminded her she was worth the effort. That is what I want for you. Now let me give you the practical plan for putting all of this into action starting today. First, cook rice fresh. If you store it, cool it within 1 hour, refrigerate it immediately, consume it within 24 hours, and never reheat it more than one time. Second, eat leftover chicken cold. Use it in a salad, in a wrap, or straight from the container. If reheating is necessary, use the lowest effective temperature and do not overheat it. Third, cook spinach and other leafy greens fresh and eat them the same day. Do not refrigerate cooked leafy greens with the intention of reheating them. If you have leftovers, eat them cold within 6 hours. Fourth, cook eggs fresh whenever possible. Store hard-boiled eggs unpeeled and eat them cold. Do not microwave scrambled eggs or egg dishes. Use gentle, indirect heat if warming is needed, and stay below 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Fifth, invest in a food thermometer. Gentle reheating at lower temperatures reduces the formation of many of the compounds we discussed compared to high heat methods. And plan your portions more carefully so you generate less food that needs to be stored in the first place. That single behavioral shift eliminates the problem at the source. Tell me in the comments which of these 4 foods surprised you most. Was it rice, the one virtually everyone reheats without a second thought? Was it chicken, the protein that health-conscious people have built their entire meal prep strategy around? Was it spinach, the vegetable that nearly every health expert tells you to eat more of? Or was it eggs? I want to know. And if there is another food you eat or reheat regularly that you want me to look into, leave that in the comments as well. I read every one of them, and your questions directly shape the research I do for future videos. The information we covered today is not obscure. It has been published in peer-reviewed journals, referenced in the formal guidelines of the European Food Safety Authority and the World Health Organization, and documented across decades of nutritional biochemistry research. The problem has never been the evidence. The problem has been the gap between what the science shows and what actually reaches the people who need to know it. That gap is what this channel exists to close. A quick note before you go. Everything shared here is for educational purposes only. It is not personal medical advice, a diagnosis, or a treatment recommendation. The science of food chemistry continues to evolve, and I always encourage you to discuss any significant dietary changes with your own physician. particularly if you have a pre-existing medical condition. This content does not replace your doctor. It is meant to make your next conversation with your doctor a much better one. There is one more place your body sends quiet warnings about what is happening inside, and most people are reading those signals completely wrong. That is the next video. Stay sharp, and I will see you there.